What if the biggest battle you'll ever face is the one inside your own mind? It was 3 a.m. You know, that strange, silent hour where your thoughts get louder than the world around you. I wasn't searching for ancient wisdom, but somehow it found me. I clicked on something random, and suddenly I wasn't in my room anymore. I was standing in the middle of a battlefield, Kurukshetra, watching a legendary warrior crumble under the weight of doubt. His name was Arjuna, and though his hands held a bow, his heart was full of fear. But here's the twist. That battlefield, it wasn't just his, it was mine. And maybe it's yours too. Now, picture the scene. Two enormous armies stand ready for combat. War horns echo through the air, blades gleam in the sunlight, and the relentless beat of war drums pounds like the heartbeat of fate. But then, something unexpected happens. Arjuna, the legendary warrior, crumbles under the weight of it all. Imagine that. The most feared fighter of his time suddenly questioning everything. He looks across the battlefield and sees familiar faces. Friends, teachers, even family members. These are the people he once laughed with, learned from, and loved. And now, he is expected to destroy them. A crushing wave of guilt and dread washes over him. Why are we doing this? Why should I take the lives of my own kin for a throne I don't even desire? His very soul resists. I mean, wouldn't you feel the same if you had to destroy the very people who shaped your life? This isn't just hesitation. It's the complete unraveling of a man's sense of self, right in the midst of war's chaos. Arjuna isn't just a warrior. He represents anyone who has ever been frozen by a moral dilemma, caught between what is expected and what feels right in their heart. And then Krishna steps in. But he's not just any charioteer. He's the human form of the Supreme Being. No big deal, right? He sees Arjuna crumbling under the weight of his doubts and delivers words so powerful they shake the core of existence. First, he drops a revelation. The soul cannot die. Worried about taking lives? Don't be. Bodies may fall, but the soul, it's eternal. Now that's a shift in perspective. Krishna reveals a universal truth. What we call life and death are just temporary changes. The soul moves from one body to another, much like a snake shedding its old skin. This isn't just some abstract idea. It's a belief that has helped people face the reality of death for thousands of years. Your body, it's just something you borrow for a while. But the soul, that's what truly endures. Now here's where things get even more profound. Arjuna is still struggling because even if the soul lives on, he's facing another dilemma, his responsibility. Krishna reminds him that, as a kshatriya, a warrior, his duty isn't about personal wishes or ambition. It's about fulfilling the role he was born into, the purpose that defines his path. Think about that for a moment. You have a role in this life, and whether you enjoy it or struggle with it, turning away from it isn't really a choice. This is something every person wrestles with. You all wonder about your purpose, your responsibilities, and what path to take. Should you chase your dreams, or should you focus on what needs to be done? Krishna's answer: do your duty, even if it's difficult. Because even if you do your own work imperfectly, it's still better than excelling at something that was never meant for you. He drops this on Arjuna like a thunderbolt of truth. Responsibility isn't about personal success. It's about maintaining the balance of the universe. But Krishna isn't finished. Not yet. Now, he turns to the subject of desire, that endless hunger inside each of you, that pull toward everything the world offers is what keeps you tied to it. Krishna tells Arjuna that his real opponent isn't the warrior standing against him, it's desire itself. Desire is the force that traps you in the cycle of karma, pulling you from one life to the next, always chasing things that will never truly be yours. Wealth, status, pleasure, power, whatever it is that tempts you, it only adds fuel to the fire. The more you feed it, the stronger it burns. And where does that lead? To a life spent running after illusions, stuck in the same patterns, making the same mistakes again and again. Krishna calls this the bondage of action, the endless loop where every choice is driven by the hope of getting something in return, making true freedom impossible. Now comes the turning point. Krishna reveals a way out, but he doesn't tell Arjuna to give up everything and retreat into the wilderness like a hermit. No, his answer is both bold and straightforward. Take action, but let go of attachment. Your duty is to act, Krishna says, but not to cling to what comes from it. And he doesn't leave this open to interpretation. He states it clearly in chapter 2, verse 47. You have the right to perform your duties, but not to the fruits of your actions. Do not let the results drive you, and do not be attached to inaction. Think about that. People are constantly fixated on outcomes, whether they'll succeed or fail, gain or lose, be admired or criticized. But what if you stopped worrying about the result? What if you simply did what needed to be done without expecting anything in return? It's like a student putting in hours of hard work. Their role isn't to chase the top score. It's to study with full dedication. Whether they get the highest grade or just barely pass, that part isn't in their hands. What truly matters is the honest effort they put in. That's what Krishna is teaching Arjuna, a way to break free from the grip of desire by focusing only on the action itself. No more anxiety over results. No more stress over success or failure. That is real freedom. Then Krishna takes things even further and shifts the entire discussion. He introduces bhakti, or devotion. But this isn't about bargaining with the divine. No, pray and get what you want arrangement. No, Krishna is talking about a devotion so pure that it asks for nothing in return. True bhakti is selfless. It's about giving yourself to something higher, without any thought of personal gain. Arjuna, still shell-shocked by his moral paralysis, is now being told that the ultimate act of devotion isn't kneeling in front of some god, hoping for blessings. It's living your life with such devotion to duty and righteousness that you cease to exist in the equation. You lose yourself completely in the act of service. This idea of selfless devotion becomes a central teaching in Hindu philosophy, and it hits hard for anyone who has ever tried to make deals with the universe in exchange for a little good fortune. And just when you think things can't get any more overwhelming, Krishna reveals his true form, not as the familiar figure Arjuna has been speaking with, but as the full and limitless embodiment of the Supreme Being. Imagine this. Krishna's body expands beyond comprehension, stretching across existence itself, with countless arms, eyes, and mouths, filling the entire cosmos. Arjuna witnesses every deity, every creature contained within him, and the sight is not comforting. It's terrifying. His very being trembles under the weight of this divine vision. He watches as entire armies, entire souls, are pulled into Krishna's many mouths, consumed and destroyed. In this moment, Krishna is not just the creator, he is also the force of destruction. He is time itself, everything familiar, everything cherished, reduced to nothing in an instant. Arjuna collapses under the sheer gravity of this truth. And let's be honest, so would you. It is in this overwhelming moment of fear and awe that Arjuna finally understands. Krishna is not just a guide, not just a teacher. He is the unstoppable force of time and death itself. Everything. As much as Arjuna wished to escape the battle, to avoid striking down his own people, he comes to see that the decision was never his to make. The battle is already set in motion. Krishna makes it clear. These warriors have already fallen, brought down by a power far beyond Arjuna's own choices. Like every human, Arjuna is merely an instrument of the vast, unfolding universe. His task is not to question the final outcome, but to fulfill his duty. Stand and fight, Krishna commands. The destiny of the world does not rest on your hesitation. It was determined long before you even existed. And so, what does Arjuna do? He lifts his bow again, but this time, the weight of doubt and fear is gone. Now, he understands, he is part of something much greater than himself. He is not acting out of personal desire or attachment, but because it is simply his role to play. Krishna has shattered the human illusion of control. He has dismantled the belief that individual actions alone shape the world. Yes, people act, struggle, and strive, but the grand plan? That is beyond their grasp. Arjuna steps back onto the battlefield, still a warrior, but now one who fights not for himself, but in harmony with a force far greater than his own will. Krishna hands Arjuna the ultimate key to mastering this mindset in chapter 2, verse 48. He says, "Carry out your duties with steady focus, letting go of attachment to both victory and defeat. This balanced state of mind is called yoga." That's right. This is the original meaning of yoga, not the stretchy poses you see online, but a state of mental steadiness where success and failure don't shake you. The runner who finishes last but learns endurance. The entrepreneur whose venture collapses but gains wisdom. These people are practicing true yoga. Now pause and think about that. What would your life be like if you no longer let outcomes control your emotions? If you put your full effort into what you do, but release the need to dictate how it all turns out? That's not indifference. It's real freedom. It's seeing both triumph and setback as passing moments, each carrying its own lessons. And Krishna's wisdom doesn't stop there. His teachings go beyond just action and devotion. Krishna unpacks the very core of what shapes human behavior. He introduces the idea of the three Gunas, fundamental energies that make up everything in existence. Sattva, clarity and harmony. Rajas, drive and restlessness. And Tamas, inertia and confusion. These forces shape your emotions, decisions, and ambitions. Krishna explains that every person is influenced by a mix of these qualities, and the real challenge is learning to rise above them. You can't just react blindly to life. You need to become aware of which guna is steering you at any moment. Only by recognizing these influences can you begin to take control of your choices and step away from the constant turmoil of the material world. This is the true test, breaking free from the cycles of craving, frustration, and ignorance. And just when you think Krishna has said it all, he takes it even further. With Arjuna now prepared to take up his bow and face battle, Krishna dives even deeper into the path of self-mastery. Krishna simplifies it into something you can actually use. He explains that your mind can either be your greatest ally or your biggest obstacle. It all depends on you. In chapter 6, he puts it plainly. For one who has mastered the mind, it becomes the best of friends. But for one who fails to do so, the mind remains the greatest enemy. So, how do you turn your mind into a friend instead of a foe? Krishna doesn't just leave you wondering. He lays out a strategy for winning this inner battle. First, develop self-awareness. Pay attention to your thoughts as if you're watching cars pass by. No need to judge, just notice them. If frustration starts bubbling up, take a moment. Ask yourself, what set this off? Jot it down if it helps. This isn't just abstract mindfulness. It's real mental discipline. Second, create a routine. Everyone functions better with a bit of structure. Begin your morning with something intentional. It doesn't have to be an elaborate meditation, but even a few moments of stillness before reaching for your phone can make a difference. And third, this one changes everything. Mute your notifications. Seriously. Krishna didn't have a phone, but if he did, he'd tell you the same thing. Being present means fully engaging in what you're doing, not splitting your focus every time your screen lights up with some trivial update. He explains that the purpose of human life is to rise above the illusion of the material world, to look beyond the surface of everyday experiences and recognize the deeper truth that lies beneath. The three gunas are always present, like unseen forces shaping your thoughts and actions. But true self-mastery begins when you learn to notice their influence and detach from it. And let's be honest, that's no small task. But here's the real breakthrough. When you stop identifying solely with the physical world, when you refuse to be controlled by these forces, you finally experience real freedom. Not just a temporary escape, but a deep, lasting liberation. You step beyond the distractions of daily life and catch a glimpse of something far greater. Arjuna's battle isn't just about war. It's a symbol of the struggles you face every single day. So how does this kind of freedom show up in real life? This is where Krishna delivers a lesson that hits especially hard in today's fast-paced world. He introduces the concept of nishkama karma, selfless action. Krishna explains that the way to true inner peace, the way to break free from the endless cycle of wanting and frustration, is to act without expecting anything in return. That's it. Seems simple, right? But really think about it. How often do you do something without expecting anything in return? Almost everything you do, whether at work, in relationships, or even in personal goals, is usually tied to the hope of some kind of reward. But Krishna teaches that true purpose comes from acting for the sake of the action itself, from doing what is right simply because it is right, not because of what you might gain from it. Arjuna's victory isn't about defeating enemies. It's about realizing that real triumph comes from acting without being ruled by the ego. But Krishna doesn't stop there. He explains that the highest way to live is through devotion, not the kind where you plead for blessings or favors, but a deeper kind of devotion, bhakti, where you recognize the divine presence in everything and everyone. Every action becomes a way of honoring the divine. Every moment, an opportunity to connect with something beyond yourself. This isn't about performing endless rituals or repeating prayers without meaning. It's about moving through life with full awareness of a greater reality. In a world so consumed by ego and self-interest, this is the ultimate remedy. Krishna's vision of the universe, where every person, action, and object is connected to the divine, isn't just abstract philosophy. It's an invitation to look beyond yourself and the small world of your individual experience. Arjuna's journey isn't just about finding the strength to lift his bow again. It's about understanding that he is part of something far greater, a story that stretches beyond a single lifetime. By the time Krishna finishes revealing these deep truths, Arjuna is no longer the hesitant warrior crushed by doubt. He has become a symbol of purpose and understanding. But here's the important part. You don't have to be a soldier to relate to what Krishna is teaching. The struggles in your life may not involve swords and battlefields, but they exist in the form of worry, moral dilemmas, and choices that feel impossible to make. The Bhagavad Geeta isn't just about war. It's a guide for finding peace and direction in the middle of life's uncertainty. The endless push and pull between what you desire, what is expected of you, and what is truly right is the battle of Kurukshetra repeating itself inside your mind. So what's the lesson here? Arjuna's true victory wasn't just about picking up his bow. It was about letting go of the doubt that weighed him down. Krishna gave him something priceless, the knowledge that duty, selflessness, and devotion are the real paths to freedom. You don't have to live through countless lifetimes to understand this. The wisdom is already here in the Bhagavad Geeta. Life is chaotic, full of uncertainty and difficult choices. But if you can take action without obsessing over the results, if you can recognize your duty and carry it out with sincerity, you'll discover something deeper than winning or losing. You'll find a sense of peace in a world that always seems to be pulling itself apart. And if this journey through ancient wisdom hasn't made you rethink the battles you fight every day, I don't know what will. But then again, that's exactly what Krishna has been trying to show you all along. There's an incredible verse in chapter 4 where Krishna shares a cosmic truth. Whenever righteousness declines and wrongdoing rises, I manifest myself to protect the good, defeat the wicked, and restore balance. I return age after age. Krishna is saying that even in the worst moments, there's a greater order at play. When everything in your life seems to be falling apart, when the world feels like it's breaking down, those might be the very moments that lead to change and renewal. The wisdom in these teachings brings a kind of steadiness, not the fragile kind that depends on things going your way, but the deep kind that stays firm whether life is joyful or difficult. When you start seeing things this way, challenges aren't just problems, they're chances to grow. So instead of trying to control everything, focus on what you're meant to do. You'll be surprised at how much lighter that burden starts to feel.